All right, let's dive into Rework. This book, you know, the one by Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson,
Yeah.
those guys from 37 Signals, or Basecamp as they call it now,
Right, right.
it's been making some waves, and for good reason, I think. They built this, I mean, it's a software company, but they've had a lot of success, and it's like they kind of just threw out the old way of doing things.
Yeah, they really did.
All
It's not just about being different for the sake of it, though.
right.
It's that rework really gets at how, thanks to technology, doing business has totally changed. Like, think about it. You don't need a massive team or tons of money to start anymore.
Yeah.
One person, a laptop, they could do what used to take a whole department. Pretty amazing, really.
Totally. It's like technology has evened the playing field, for sure. But what about all that, traditional business advice? The stuff we've all heard a million times, like learning from your mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Rework seems to have a different take on that whole thing.
Oh, it's more than just different. It's almost like they flip the script entirely. They say, focus on what's working. Build on your successes. Don't get bogged down in the failures. It's like evolution.
Yeah.
It doesn't sit around analyzing what went wrong. It keeps building on what works, what succeeds. And it really makes you think, maybe instead of dissecting every misstep, we should be celebrating the wins more.
It is kind of a shift in perspective, isn't it? Like, don't dwell on the past, look ahead.
Exactly. And they apply that same forward thinking to the whole idea of planning.
Oh, interesting.
Rework actually pushes back against these big, long-term business plans. In today's world, things change so fast, they say it's basically just fancy guessing.
Yeah.
Sticking to a rigid plan, you might miss opportunities you never even saw coming.
Makes sense.
They're all about being flexible, adapting as you go.
So less like a detailed roadmap and more like having a compass. You know your general direction, but you're open to changing course.
Oh, that's a great way to put it, yeah.
And rework challenge is another big one, too.
Yeah.
The idea that growth is the ultimate goal.
Right.
Fried and Heinemeier Hansson suggest that sometimes small can be just fine, the goal in itself.
It's about sustainability, being profitable, not just constantly expanding.
Yeah, that growth at all costs mindset, I think it traps a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs. This idea of embracing small, it's refreshing.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Where your business is doing well, but you're not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Growing with intention, making sure it matches your goals, your values.
I like that. So we've talked about the big picture, but what about the nitty-gritty, the practical stuff? Does Rework offer any, concrete strategies, things we can actually put into practice?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Rework is full of actionable advice. Like, one of the things that really stuck with me is their idea of scratching your own itch.
Oh, I love that one. It's such a simple idea, but so powerful.
Yeah, right? You solve the problems you face yourself.
Not only are you more passionate about finding a solution, but you get the problem. You understand it deeply.
Absolutely. You're not just building something. You're solving something that truly matters to you.
Yeah.
And they're very clear. A good idea isn't enough.
Okay.
Start making something, they say. Stop talking, stop planning, and build.
Less talk, more action, huh?
They argue execution beats ideas every time.
Something a lot of us could stand to remember, probably.
So for sure. And here's another one that's really interesting. Embrace constraints.
Ooh, that sounds almost counterintuitive.
You'd think more resources, fewer limits that lead to better results.
Yeah, that's what you'd think.
But think about it. When you have unlimited everything, you can overthink, you add unnecessary stuff, it gets complicated. But when you have constraints, time, budget, whatever it is, you have to be more creative, more resourceful.
Constraints force you to focus, to prioritize.
Exactly.
And that can actually lead to a better solution in the end.
That's exactly what they argue. It's like that saying, necessity is the mother of invention. And Rework gives all these examples of companies that, thrived because of their constraints, not in spite of them. They had to work smarter, not harder.
And that led to some real breakthroughs.
Often, yeah. I'm telling you, Rework can really shift your perspective.
I'm starting to see that.
And this one really drives it home. Build half a product, not a half-assed product.
Okay, I like that. Break that down for me, though. What exactly does that mean?
It's about resisting the urge to do everything, to offer all the bells and whistles. Instead of spreading yourself thin, they say, do a few things really, really well.
Okay.
Be the best at what you do, even if it's a smaller scope. Quality over quantity. back again, diving deeper into rework.
All right, so you know one area where they really turn things upside down?
Yeah.
Hiring. It's
Uh-huh.
like they have this whole different approach to finding the right people.
Totally different playbook.
Yeah.
Like, take their idea of do it yourself first
Okay, what's that?
before you even think about hiring someone.
Yeah.
You got to understand the job inside and out. Do it yourself.
So like walk a mile in their shoes kind of thing.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
makes sense. If you've actually done it,
Right.
you can write a better job description, you'll know what skills to look for, the whole thing.
And get this, Rework says resumes are ridiculous.
Ooh, okay. Bold statement.
They think resumes tell you nothing useful.
I mean, I get it. Resumes are kind of, I don't know, impersonal.
They don't show you the person,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So they say focus on cover letters, a
Interesting.
good cover letter.
Yeah.
That shows you how someone thinks, their communication skills, even a bit of their personality.
You get a feel for them, not just their credential.
Right. And then they go even further. They say formal education, it's not the be-all and end-all.
Okay.
Don't get hung up on degrees, GPAs, all that.
Hmm.
Look for skills, experience, the real world. That's the best classroom, they say.
I think a lot of people struggle with that on both sides, you
Yeah.
know? Employers and job seekers, we put so much emphasis on those qualifications, but do they really translate to, like, actual ability?
They say hiring should be about finding the right fit, not just checking boxes.
I like that.
Be open to people from different backgrounds. Maybe they don't have the perfect resume, but they got the skills, the drive.
And you know what else I love from Rework?
What that?
Hire great writers. That's gold right there.
Absolutely.
Clear writing equals clear thinking. That's valuable anywhere.
In any role. Yeah, it's not just about proper grammar. It's about being able to communicate your ideas clearly, concisely, convincingly. A good writer, that can really impact how people see your company.
Makes sense. Okay, so you found your people, now what? How do you build a good company culture? What does Rework say about that?
Their take on culture is pretty simple. Culture is action, not words.
Okay.
Forget the slogans, the mission statements. It's about how people actually act.
Walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Exactly. They say forget the rock star mentality, too.
What's that?
That whole thing about trying to get a few superstar employees.
Right.
Create an environment where everyone can thrive, where everyone's voice matters, everyone feels empowered.
That sounds a lot healthier, more sustainable.
And here's one I think a lot of people will get behind. Send people home at 5. They're big on work-life balance.
Yeah, good word.
They say people are more productive, more creative when they have time for things outside of work.
It's tough though, right? With our always-on culture, it's hard to disconnect.
It is.
Really?
But it makes sense. You're working all the time. You burn out. You don't have time to recharge, to find inspiration.
Yeah, you need that space.
They argue that working smarter, not harder. That's the key, both for people and for companies.
I can get behind that.
A culture that respects boundaries, that prioritizes well-being, they say that's what leads to better results.
All right, let's shift gears a bit, talk about promotion. How does Rework suggest we get the word out?
Their marketing approach, it's just as unconventional.
Oh, okay.
Get this. They say, welcome obscurity.
Wait, welcome obscurity. Isn't the whole point of marketing to get attention?
They think the early days of a business, it's a time to experiment, refine things.
Right.
Use that time under the radar to really hone your product, test ideas, find your voice without the pressure of being in the spotlight.
So like lay low, build a solid foundation, then make a splash.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't launch prematurely just to get attention.
Right. They say taking the time to get it right, it'll pay off in the long run.
Makes sense. And once you are ready to come out of hiding, what then?
Building an audience, they're big on that.
Sure.
But not just any audience, the right audience.
Yeah.
People who are actually interested in what you offer. And how do you do that?
How?
Create valuable content, stuff that resonates with those people.
So it's not about shouting your message, it's about creating something that draws people in.
Like a magnet.
I like that.
And the best way to do that, they say, be generous.
Okay.
Teach people something. Share your knowledge. Give them insights they can actually use.
Be a teacher, not just a salesperson. Exactly.
It's about building relationships, being genuine.
And then they have this really interesting idea. They say, emulate drug dealers.
Hold on, drug dealers.
It's a provocative analogy, I know. But what they mean is give people a taste for free.
Okay.
Like those free samples at the grocery store or a free trial for software. You try it, you like it, you want more.
Ah, I see. Creates that sense of anticipation.
Gives people a reason to try without committing.
Yeah, smart.
They say, once people experience the value you offer, they'll happily pay for the full thing.
Okay, so things are going well, but what about when they don't? What about when stuff goes wrong? How does Rework approach damage control?
They keep it simple. Own your bad news.
Don't try to hide it.
Nope. Be upfront, be proactive.
So take responsibility, communicate openly.
Exactly. People respect honesty. And don't just apologize. Explain what happened, what you're doing to fix it, how you'll prevent it from happening again.
Show them you care, you're taking action.
And here's another crucial point. Speed changes everything. Respond quickly.
Don't leave people hanging. Show them you're listening, you're on it.
Yeah, when you're dealing with a problem, the last thing you want is to feel ignored.
Right. A fast response can really make a difference, helps rebuild trust.
Absolutely.
And they suggest put everyone on the front lines.
So what do you mean?
Don't just have a customer service team. Connect your whole team with customers.
Why is that so important?
It builds empathy. When everyone interacts with customers firsthand,
Yeah.
they understand their needs, their concerns better.
That makes sense.
And that leads to better products, better service, a better experience overall.
You know, I'm really getting the sense that Rework is about more than just, like, tactics and tips. It's a whole different way of thinking, isn't it?
It is.
Questioning assumptions, challenging the status quo.
Finding your own way to success.
Exactly. It's inspiring, in a way.
I think so too.
All right, back for more Rework. Ready to see what other unconventional wisdom these guys have cooked up?
Well, we've talked about challenging assumptions, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to productivity, progress, Rework, really takes it up a notch. It's like
Oh, yeah.
they threw out the rule book, said, we're doing things our way.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of unconventional productivity tips are we talking about here?
One big one is saying no by default.
Really?
Might seem counterintuitive,
Yes.
but they say saying yes too much. That leads to feeling overwhelmed, losing focus.
So it's about protecting your time, your energy, being picky about what you take on.
Exactly. They say you rarely regret saying no, but you often regret saying yes. It's about knowing your priorities, not letting yourself get pulled in every direction.
Yeah, I can see that. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new opportunities, but sometimes they're just distractions from the real work.
They also make this distinction between enthusiasm and priority. Just because you're excited about something
Right.
doesn't mean it should be top on the list.
Okay.
Let ideas cool off a bit before jumping in.
So take a step back, see if it's truly important or just a shiny object distracting you.
Precisely.
That's good advice.
And here's another one that might surprise you. Don't write down every customer request you get.
Oh, interesting. I always thought capturing all that feedback was important.
They say the requests that really matter, you'll hear them over and over.
Okay.
Your customers will be your memory, they say. If you keep forgetting a request, it's probably not that important.
So focus on the signal, not the noise.
Exactly. Find those recurring themes, address the needs that really matter.
And Rework seems very action-oriented when it comes to making progress, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
There's that line, making the call is making progress.
They're big on being decisive. Don't wait for the perfect solution, the perfect moment. Just act, even if you don't have all the information.
So it's better to make a decision and move forward than get stuck overthinking, second-guessing.
They say you can always adjust course later.
Yeah.
And they encourage you to be a curator.
Okay, now I'm curious. What do they mean by that?
Like a museum curator, right?
Yeah.
They carefully choose what to display.
Yeah.
You got to be selective about what you include in your business.
Choose what's most important, let go of the rest.
Right. Prioritize the stuff that really matters to your vision. Cut out the distractions. And this one might seem counterintuitive, but they say ignore the details early on.
Really? I would think details are always important.
They are, but not at the start.
Yeah.
Early stages, focus on the big picture.
Okay.
Get the foundation right before you start fiddling with the little things.
So, like, build the framework before you start decorating, right?
Exactly. They use the analogy of architects. You don't pick out the tile patterns until you've got the floor plan figured out.
That's a good analogy.
Rework also talk about setting deadlines, working in short bursts.
They have that great line, long lists don't get done.
So true. Break down big projects into smaller, more manageable chunks. Instead of one massive project, think of it as a series of smaller ones. Makes it less daunting. You can celebrate those little wins along the way.
Helps you stay motivated, keep that momentum going.
And they say, make tiny decisions. Don't get bogged down by big, complex choices. Break them down into smaller ones.
Makes it easier to adjust, to change course if you need to.
Right. You're not stuck with a decision you made ages ago that might not be right anymore.
So much good stuff here.
Now, this one might challenge some assumptions about starting a business. Rework argues you don't necessarily need a big, grand vision or a super detailed business plan.
I thought those were essential.
They say start with a problem,
Okay.
a real problem people are facing, and then create the solution.
So kind of like scratch your own itch, but on a bigger scale.
You got it. And they're big on launch now, plan later, get your product out there. Even if it's not perfect, let the market guide you.
Get that real-world feedback, learn as you go.
They believe you learn way more by doing than by planning. Now, this one might seem a bit odd at first, but they encourage you to sell your byproducts.
Sell your byproducts. And now I'm really curious, what does that even mean?
Think of a lumber mill, right? They sell sawdust, wood chips, stuff that's usually considered waste.
Right.
They believe there's often hidden value in things we might normally throw away.
So find those unexpected revenue streams, the ones that might be hiding in plain sight.
Exactly. They even did this themselves with their book Getting Real, which was originally a collection of blog posts, internal documents, things like that.
That's a great example of finding value where you wouldn't expect it.
Now, and another key concept they highlight is underdoing your competition. Trying to match your competitors feature for feature. They say that's a race to the bottom.
So it's not about having the most bells and whistles.
It's about focusing on what you do best, doing it exceptionally well, even if it means offering fewer features.
Quality over quantity. Be the best in your niche, not try to be everything to everyone.
Exactly. And they talk a lot about building a sustainable business. This isn't about chasing quick wins or compromising your values for profit. They're all about staying small, lean, focusing on profitability over just growth for the sake of growth.
So building a business that reflects your values, your priorities, something that can last.
Right. And they're huge proponents of bootstrapping. Starting and growing a business without relying on outside funding.
Forces you to be more resourceful, more disciplined, right?
And it can lead to a stronger business in the long run. And, of course, they're big on promoting that healthy work-life balance.
Yeah, that's a recurring theme for sure.
They say people are more productive, more creative when they have time for life outside work. They even advocate for working remotely.
Oh, interesting.
They believe people can be more productive when they have the flexibility to work where they feel most comfortable, most focused.
It's not about being tied to a desk, it's about getting things done.
And when it comes to company culture, they emphasize you can't just manufacture it. It comes from consistent behavior.
So if you want to build a culture of trust, you have to act in a trustworthy way, consistently.
It's about walking the walk, right? Aligning your actions with your values.
Makes sense.
They also talk about the importance of sound. But they're not talking about music, sound effects.
What kind of sound then?
They mean the tone, the style of your communication. Be authentic, be relatable, avoid all that corporate jargon.
Sound like you.
Exactly. It's about connecting with people on a human level.
Yeah.
And finally, they talk about inspiration.
Yeah.
They say inspiration is perishable. You got to act on it when you have it.
Don't wait, just get started.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground with Rework, wouldn't you say?
So much good stuff. What really stands out to you from all this?
I think for me, it's that emphasis on questioning assumptions, being willing to do things differently.
Yeah, Rework really encourages you to challenge the status quo, find your own way.
It's about building a business that reflects who you are, what you believe in, and creating a work life that you actually enjoy.
Absolutely. And if Rework has got you thinking, I definitely recommend checking out the whole book. It's full of even more great insights, practical advice. And here's something to ponder. How can you apply that idea of underdoing your competition to your own work?
How can you focus on what you do best, really stand out in your niche?
That's a great question for our listeners to consider. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Rework.
It's been a pleasure.